welcome everyone. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. It is November 16th. This is the Broadwater County Commission meeting. If you please stand and join us with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for bearing with us with the delay this morning. All right, this is a public meeting of the Broadwater County Commissioners. We do follow Robert's Rules of Order. The purpose of this, we have a policy to that effect, and the purpose of that is to open these meetings to all Broadwater County citizens. We realize that we have a fiscal and fiduciary responsibility to conduct county business as efficiently as possible for all Broadwater County residents. Commission meetings are recorded and they are on YouTube, so please state your full name prior to public comment for the record. Any separate conversations need to be removed into the hallway or outside. Outbursts will not be tolerated. And all comments should be directed to the board chairman. With that being said, Elaine Gravely is ill today, and she did ask me to let you know that she was in the emergency room this weekend, and she is under doctor's orders to remain home. So she will not be with us today, so it's just Franklin and I. So with that, let's see, we'll go ahead and get started here in just a second. Okay, so first thing on the agenda, 10 o'clock, public comment. Is there any public comment this morning? Tim, are you wanting to give public comment?
Madam Acting Chair, yes, I asked
Can you
for...
state your name, please?
My name is Tim Ravendall, Broadwater County resident. Because of scheduling, the agenda later this morning is going to have a discussion regarding the county compensation, and I'm not going to be able to be here. And I would like to just present this to the Board of Commissioners on my behalf to be part of the record for the process. I did review the Broadwater County Attorney's memorandum to the Broadwater County Commissioners regarding the pay compensation for county commissioners. And I would like to offer this as part of the record. Apologize, I got my glasses here. I've got one earpiece missing and I can't see. So it has been claimed by myself and others at Broadwater County that it is improper for elected officials of Broadwater County to arbitrarily give themselves a raise or to change the status of the approved public service to the citizens. The process for local government officials to change the form of government or the salary structure of the elected officials and employees of the county is found in statute. To change the form of government from a constitutional commission form of government to any other of the forms requires a public process. By statute, any change must be approved through the County Review Commission. The citizens of Broadwater County declined to approve a study commission this last cycle, therefore leaving in place the form of government that Broadwater County has been governed since the county was formed. The statutory ability to make needed adjustments to salaries or other compensation for employees of the county is provided for with the County Compensation Board. It is this body that is charged with making recommendations for the executive body to adopt. The last board meeting provided for a compensation package that afforded COLA increases to salaries. Nowhere in the deliberations of that body were discussions providing for the changing of the part-time compensation of commissioners to full-time. The County Compensation Board and the County Review Commission are the statutorily provided bodies that provide the people of Broadwater County the constitutional right to know and the right to participate. Article 2, Sections 8 and 9 of the Constitution of Montana. The arbitrary and capricious act of reading into law that which is not, or omitting from law that which is there, is a direct violation of public trust. On behalf of the citizens of Broadwater County, it is your duty to provide for full transparency and accountability to the people. I therefore implore upon you to follow the proper legal process to change the way our local government represents the people, and to do so in the full light of day. At a minimum, Madam Chair, Acting Chair, there must be a hearing on this matter. And I will submit this on behalf of myself and other concerned citizens. Madam Chair, thank you. And with that, Madam Chair, I have another citizen that would like me on their behalf to present public comment that cannot be here today, if you so indulge.
Sure. And let us know who it is.
Okay. This is very hard.
You want,
Hey, can I borrow yours, Commissioner?
I'll trade you.
Thank you. This message is to be read into the record. And this is a message from Melinda Hollum, citizen of Broadwater County. And I'm just going to read verbatim what it says. Commissioner Obert, you claim 40 hours is needed because the other two commissioners don't do anything. Well, then ask them to step up or resign, or put into who will do the work. If you do that, 40 hours is not needed. That all these years, why now? Your situation is only temporary since one seat becomes up in 2016. I suggest that you created your own mess, you live with it, and you need to leave the hours like it's been. If you can't handle the heat you created, then you get out of the kitchen. I feel you have a already broken law, double dipping since you started paying yourself 40 hours. Trying to cover it up now doesn't undo your deed of wrong. I disagree with 40 hours since it's not a full-time job. If you had all three carry the load, 2016 will change that, and a person can help them with the load. Thanks, Melinda Holland.
Thank you very much.
With that said, Madam Chair, again, I apologize I can't be here to be part of the process at 11, whatever time it is on your agenda, but I implore the Commission to move forward with a full hearing on this matter. Thank you.
Jim,
Thank you.
glasses changed.
Oh, can I get some coffee? Thank you, Commissioner.
Well, I tell you, you must be a politician.
Any other public comment? Public comment?
My name's Cheryl Campbell. With regard to the item that's noted on the agenda at 11:45 that says set the commissioner's hours, PT/FT, part-time/full-time. I believe the citizens of Broadwater County are entitled to a full public hearing in which they can discuss and question the need for any change. Thank you for your consideration.
All right, any other public
I'm
comment?
Dwayne Hall, Broadwater County resident. I agree, full public hearing. I think this should be tabled until there is a full public hearing on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Public comment. All right. There will be a full public hearing and discussion on this subject later on today, and it is scheduled for 11:45. There is a great deal of misinformation out there, so it will be good to go ahead and get some facts out there for the citizens.
May I,
Yes, Tim.
Madam Chair? Tim Rosendahl. Was this advertised as a hearing to the public? Because according to the agenda, it just looks like it's a decision matter on the agenda.
Right, it wouldn't have to be a public hearing as public hearing, because we're not having a resolution. It is on the agenda, so it is a public hearing in full view of the public and fully advertised. So yes.
Respectfully disagree, Madam.
All right. Any other public comment? Okay. We are going to also move on to Montana Minute. Franklin, you have anything good to say about our state?
No, the only thing which is making the news all over is deal going on in Paris, and I think that's something we've got to think about in the United States. I think we're probably pretty well immune here in our small areas, but it's a big concern for this country.
All right. Last week was Veterans Day, and Montana has more veterans per capita than any other state in the union. I think our service people should be honored for that, for their service on our behalf, as well as those who serve their communities in the way of public safety and search and rescue and fire control and all the other facets of public service. So, anybody else want to offer a positive thing to say about Montana? All right.
Great place to live.
Yes, it is, Mike. Thank you for that. All right, Commissioners' Community Update. This is an opportunity for we commissioners to share with each other what we did on behalf of the citizens of Broadwater County through the week before. It's a way of just of letting you know, but also of making sure that the three of us are fully informed. Franklin, do you have anything to update us on with Commissioners' Community Update?
I didn't attend any meetings, extra meetings this week, past week, I should say.
Okay, all right. Last week was actually a fairly slow meeting, or a slow week. I had the same thing, I think the holiday in the middle. The only thing is I want to salute the Circle 100 Club. They had a very successful tea on Saturday for their members, so congratulations to them. All right, 10:15, solid waste fee structure, proposal, and decision. Brian and Chris, do you guys want to come up, or do you want to stay there for this? Okay. We also have from the Department of Revenue, Rob Carolson and Judy Tice. And June, I apologize, I don't know your last name.
Pat.
Thank you very much. Floor is yours, Brian.
Well, this is a follow-up to last week's meeting where I presented this proposal. You asked for it to be placed on the agenda this week. In the process of doing that, I gave a copy of this proposal to the Department of Revenue. And I was kind of taken aback by the response I got from the Department of Revenue office, saying that they weren't going to abide by this proposal, but they already had a procedure in place that would work. And I guess I was somewhat unaware of that procedure, and it kind of took me by storm. So I think there needs to be some things resolved here before this proposal goes ahead. I will say this proposal was discussed with the local people here, with June. It's what's being done in other counties, and it makes sense because that's, the Department of Revenue employees are out there with their boots on the ground, looking at property, finding new construction. All this proposal says is if they find new construction, you add a solid waste fee to the record for that parcel. And that's how we plan to keep up with the solid waste fee proposal. What I was given to look at by Department of Revenue this last year was, it was inadequate for me to do what I needed to do. All I was given was a 1,500-page report that had all the taxpayers in the solid waste district with no solid waste fees attached to them at all. And for me to go through that and recreate history would have been a very efficient use of my time. I went through the solid waste record last year, found a lot of property that had never been assessed solid waste fees, found some that were incorrect, and prepared a report for revenue to correct that, which I thought was being done, and I think it has been done. But to go ahead and have to reevaluate that every year from scratch it just doesn't make sense to me. So that's kind of where we stand. We were hoping that this proposal that we put in front of the commission could be used as guidance to the revenue people as to what to do when they found new construction. And evidently that isn't how it was interpreted by Department of Revenue, so.
The proposal was requested of you by the Department of Revenue, correct?
I don't know if it was officially requested by us, but in discussions with other solid waste managers about this issue, the Solid Waste Board thought this would be the simplest way to correct it here, is to get it on paper so everybody knows we're all on the same page. And that's what it was brought to you guys at, to accomplish that.
Okay. All right, anything from either the board member, Chris, or from Department of Revenue on this?
I can speak to some of this. I don't think the Department of Revenue is not against an efficient audit process. We just want to clarify how and when this information will be passed along. In all the counties, typically the sanitarian or the solid waste board, they set the rates, they make the determination, especially on commercial properties, here's how many units or what fee that they're to pay for those services. That's not within our authority. And with the looking into this, and I believe that's what Judy was trying to get across, is these fees, of course, follow along, timely manner. Well, they're done once a year when we get our tax bill. We've got the district defined. Yes, we do know when new homes are built, or hopefully we do. Some of the counties don't have a permit system. It's find as fine can and whatever. But in most of the counties and cities, they provide us an electronic format so we can upload into the county system the amount of fees for each property. It's my understanding in what Brian and Judy did this last year of cleaning this up, is I just want to make sure that the commissioners, Brian and everyone, are aware of. It's very inefficient to have telephone calls or walking into the office and going, well, I need this. We need some way of tracking it. It's not recreating every year. I did see the report that Judy had tried to run out of Black Mountain. Now keep in mind, you folks changed vendors here within the last year. In talking with some of my other managers, they weren't necessarily mine, I called the east side of the state where I came from originally, and they have a lot of small counties. And they're providing a report that's very easy and simple, and then they provide it in electronic format back to us saying, this commercial gets this fee, and the 50% from our perspective, it's what was there as of January 1 of that tax year. And we do track a percent complete. If the solid waste district so desires, I can see their thinking on that. If as January 1, it's 50%, in most instances, it'll be completed sometime in the near future. And if that's the way the county and the board would like to do it, we can provide that data. We just need to know. What we cannot do is field the, should I be a commercial at this fee, or should I be at that fee, or I didn't do anything, to my home after January 1. Those questions are not within our purview to answer. So I think it's just a matter of working with Brian and the Solid District Board on how to pass this information and getting it once a year. That's when it's built.
I've brought with me, if you'd like to see it, I've brought a
Please.
copy of the bill. This is an 87-page report that we gave to Brian, in addition to the letter that we provided with him after our meeting with the commission, the solid waste.
So this is the report, and you can clearly see where it lists and on the schedule here, what the fees are and by the taxpayer. And again, I only brought just a small sample of it, so you guys could kind of see the report. So for him to be able to review the fees that are actually on each parcel. So he's given that twice a year, actually. He's given it at real property and at personal property, because there was a large issue in this county because they were double billing for vacant land and with a mobile home on it. And then also I brought with you an example of what the city lighting provides us. This is the report that they provide us, and then the disc. And then also your fire protection department also does the same thing. They provide us a list with an uploadable CD that we don't actually go in and change the data. It's provided to us by those departments. We upload the information based on the facts that they know to be accurate and true, and then we provide that to the county. So I'll just give those to you so you can look at them, and then I'll share it with you. And we also have a copy of the emails that we sent back and forth last year with Brian as well, giving him an outline of the letter and the process that we use. And of course, we forwarded those to him in email format. The best we could at the time, with being Black Mountain being new, we were kind of learning that system. So like Rocky has said, we do have a new report that we can pull that looks a little different, that's not maybe quite as cumbersome as the first one we had, but we just learned about that last week, so. Or earlier this week, it was last week.
Brian, I'll give these to you too to look over if you want to.
I'll respond to the 82-page report. This is a report on mobile homes, which is real property, which the way we handled that last year was we assessed one solid waste fee to every mobile home in the county. So yeah, that one looks good, because that's the way we said to do
I
it.
have the other one too. I have the other one as well.
This is a copy of the
Judy,
report I
that's right.
received from Revenue this year. And it, like I said, it's a 1,500-page report for personal property, or real property, that, or this one's at 1,487 pages, I'm sorry. But it's the second one that was run. And I just printed off the page that has my tax notice on it, and you'll see there's no solid waste fees on that. And that's the only thing I received from Revenue this last year.
She's gonna go get ours. She's gonna go get the copy of the email.
And I don't know if it's a Black Mountain issue or if it's what, but, you know, for me to get that document and have to go through 1,500 pages of records that have no solid waste fees on them, I wasn't willing to do that.
It's not the department. I think there's the misunderstanding, is that I think you feel that it's the department's responsibility to track those fees, and it's not. And I'll pull.
Your
I'll have-
database has the information in it.
Okay, but I think that's the confusion. So I'm not sure if she actually maybe sent you the wrong report, and so that's what she's gonna go look, because we do track them and we keep emails. And so that report should look just like the mobile home report.
I never saw a report that had solid waste fees on it.
Okay,
this
well,
year.
we have emails, and we keep track of the emails that we send to you, because we do it by email just so we can track to make sure that everybody's getting the information. So, and she's printing out the email page too, on the date that we mailed it to you. And in addition, it has a copy of that report. So, I pulled just one of the reports randomly this morning just to print it out. So if it's not the same report as what she gave him, I believe that she gives it to him in, I think she handed him a report, and I think she emailed him a report. I'll have to ask Jean when she comes back. But regardless of that, we can only do as much as what our systems provide us or give us the capability of doing. So for Black Mountain, that's kind of limited. We don't have a whole lot of report writing abilities. We did learn of a new way to print a report. Again, like I said, Rocky had spoke with somebody else who uses Black Mountain and is familiar with it, and so they've given us some hints on how to do some different reports. But, so we will look at those and make sure that we can change how the reporting system's done. But I think the most important thing is to address the fact that having somebody work on this 1 day a week, 2 days a week. It's not something that we do for any of the other lighting districts or the fire districts. That information is provided to us once a year. We upload the information, and then that's done. It's based on the information that's provided by that entity, so that we can upload it and have the fees. And that way, there's no saying Department of Revenue missed it, there's no saying that Solid Waste missed it. We have a solid report that we can come back to and go, okay, where was the error made? And we can go back in, quickly adjust it, and then revise the tax bills as needed. So,
I think it's a matter of following through on the process here. I would agree with what Brian's saying. I'm not gonna sit down and go through every report, 1,500. That isn't needed. So there's a better way of the report being generated. We know if there's a new home put on, quite frankly, there was a gentleman in downstairs, just lost his home due to fire and whatever. So we track and find this stuff. It's a matter of here's what we're showing. We know it'd be like, are we gonna review every tax bill of every taxpayer every year? No. You had a house or you didn't. You're in the solid waste district or you're not. If you are, then it's what kind of property, residential, commercial. And it's a matter of how we're gonna pass this information and make it easier. Because as I stated earlier, in most of the, I talked to 2 managers that deal with Black Mountain and have for years. The one brought up another report that Judy wasn't aware of and said, here, I'll work with you on this. But it's a matter of, all the counties, most of the sanitarians in the counties provide us an electronic upload. And then it's a magic process. Here you are. You were here before. Here we go again. I've got a new commercial business. What does Brian want for a fee? He puts that in there. Then it just loads to the system. And it's just done that easily. So I think what we have is a new system that neither party sitting in the room, in fact, 3 parties, including myself, I'm not a system guru. But there are answers and easier ways to do it. I think what we had in years past was inefficient. And this telephone calling, walking into the office and stuff like this on a parcel by parcel basis leads to the inefficiencies and the missing of properties. And it's one of those, we tend to communicate well with all the departments in the county. If there's no formal permitting system countywide, someone that's a sanitarian or whatever gets a permit for a new house or cabin or whatever, they provide that to us. We look at the state electrical permits, anything we can to find a new construction and discovery. But I believe on this solid waste thing, that by working with what other counties are doing electronically, we can get rid of Brian's concern that he's gonna have to go through a 1,500-page report once a year.
The only thing that's problematic with that is that, computers are as good as the information that goes in. And so, it is helpful if they do a double check. I mean, if we have something that has a glitch or there's a problem with the system, that's why we do provide a completed list back to them so that they can take a big peek at it, because we're not the only one who has access to making changes in the system. And so if something happens inadvertently on our side or their side during an upload or a backup or, any number of things that can on occasion happen, that's why we give it back to the department themselves too, to make sure that they have an opportunity to take a look at that, because, things do happen. We have our Orion system frequently when we do a batch job in the middle of a day or something like that, we can lose data. So we err on the side of caution and provide the whole report to them so you can see it. So
I did not. because I think what Brian is saying may be true. When I sent the report in August, I did leave solid waste off because if we just printed what had solid waste, then he wouldn't be able to tell if there was one missing. So I gave him a whole tax roll. But he had the one with the solid waste on it from the end of the year, last year, that you had gone through and sent the list in February, I think, of ones you had recognized that did not have solid waste
So
on
it
them.
was a
So
double report.
we had a couple of reports out there for your review that I know of. But the one that I did send, because I was in the, because you asked about that initially, and that's when I responded and said that. I didn't put it on there because you wouldn't get, if we just gave you the ones that had solid waste on them, you wouldn't know of the ones that should need solid waste, because they wouldn't be a part of the report.
Well,
And I know
So that's a problem.
It's confusing, yeah.
Well, that comes from June being new to this area too. She should have contacted me and I would have provided her with a new construction report. And that's just a bit of training when you have new staff and things like that. We could have talked about it together and figured out what report would maybe have best suited his question. And so, giving him a multitude of different reports to look at, just so that he can have an idea of what's going on out with the solid waste.
I'd just like one good report that has all the information that we need on it.
Well, Brian, we are limited to what our systems can provide. So there's it has to be a twofold report system. It has to be what's on the solid waste, what's been provided and reviewed by your department in the past.
It's the same database that generates the report. There's gotta be somebody in
Brian,
this,
let Judy finish and then I'm gonna give you the floor.
okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, Judy.
So the thing with this is that we have the ability to print the reports to show you what has solid waste on it. We also have the ability to run a report that says tell you new construction in the area. Now, new construction in the area is only as good as the information we have, meaning if we've gone out and picked it up. You, in your department, may have a better idea of a house that was built that we have no idea about. So that's why we give you the report, to also be able to say, hey, look, you've missed one. Where's this, we know that so-and-so built a house over here, that type of thing. It's a great double check. And again, like I said, the city and the fire both provide us lists, and we don't give them anything each year. They keep an ongoing list, and their information is provided to us and updated through their process. We don't provide them additional reports throughout the year. So, this is just a tool that we're using to help make sure that the system and that there are no misses in the process.
Brian?
But it's one database, correct?
We actually operate out of 2 different databases, but we do enter your fees into the Black Mountain, yes.
So, which database has the checkbox that says solid waste fees apply?
Black Mountain.
Okay. I don't have any ability to check that box, nor I want that ability. I don't want to have to be able to do that. But in this world of database managers, there should be somebody that can run a report that may be all the taxpayers in the solid waste district, that does include solid waste fees, does not. If that piece of property is in the solid waste district, why can't that be put on the same report as who has solid waste fees?
That is the report you received, though, and that's the confusing part for you, is
It
because it
didn't
is-
have solid waste fees on it.
the second report you received didn't. The first report you did receive did have.
The one at the end of last year?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one I spent 2
Right.
months going through.
Right, and that's the one we update by, because we only update once a year. We only update those fees and provide those.
And when
fees.
do you do that?
We do it just before, and it depends. We do it when real property goes out, and we do it when personal.
So when this other report was run in August, that information had been uploaded.
Yes, that's.
But by the report I got, I couldn't tell that,
and
because
then-
it had no solid waste fees on it.
And like I said, and that's just maybe a training issue with June, where if she would have contacted me, we could have come up with, and we could have even provided you the same additional report that we provided you at the end of the year, like the prior year. We can provide you the same reports over and over, each year, so that you can see what the information is.
Where the 50% thing came from in our proposal was in talking with Jefferson County, who is probably a county that is very similar to Broadwater in the number of people and size and solid waste district size. And when I asked their manager, I said, who's responsible for making sure property has solid waste fees assessed to it? They were told me, well, revenue does that for us. They don't have to worry about it. It just happens. And they get a report that says, here's your solid waste fees. The manager there has nothing to do with the process. It just happens. And that's why I said, you know, you guys are out looking at property on a daily basis. When you find property that should have solid waste fees, you know, if it's a residence, it needs a solid waste fee. Why can't your people just check that box at that time?
Because it's not our responsibility.
But it is your
We
responsibility.
check the box.
You have the ability to check that box. I do not.
Right.
One at a time.
And I don't have the ability to know when they find a piece of property that doesn't have that box checked.
We provide you a list that has that information on it. It's up to us to enter the information that you give to us. It
But
is our responsibility.
if I'm looking at a structure and say, okay, that's a residence, you've got a little checklist that you go through that says, you know, it's this big, it's this big, it's this big. Oh, it's a residence, it needs solid waste fees. That seems a whole lot more efficient than saying, well, it needs solid waste fees, but I can't put it on there because solid waste needs to tell me to put it on there. You know, a house is a house. This is guidance to your people to say, it's a house, you need to put solid waste fees on it.
Rocky.
Yeah, let's kind of step back for just a moment. Hey, Jefferson County is also one of my counties. So are 13 others in this southwest part of the state. And we tend to follow the same process. It may be the county sanitarian, it may be someone like you. I don't think the thing at issue here, I will take exception to and say no, is that DOR is not going to assume the authority and responsibility. Yes, I know a house when I see a house. But the fee and whether it should be applied or not, it resides within your purview. Now, what I think we need to do is how can we get this data and information to pass between these entities so that it's not an onerous workload on either party? To say that DOR in Jefferson County does everything, I will find out, because I don't believe that we just go in and set fees or decide that a parcel should have this fee or this fee, no different than lighting or any of the other districts that come into play here. So it's handled a little differently in some counties than others on who talks to who and who does what. That's fine, whatever works to get the data and the information and get it accurately passed. So the DOR's position is we're not against the resolution. You wanna put it at 25%. I can give you which ones we have at that. But it's still up to the local folks to make that call and say. But the whole issue here is how, without having to sit down and go through a 1,500-page report. And I believe there are simpler, easier ways to do it. We pass DNRC for their fire districts and whatever. That's upon structures also. And it's all done via spreadsheet, and it uploads. And we notify and tell them, here's what's out there. Here's the parcels. The majority of the parcels do not change. But you can take and query that database and go, what's new? We know that. And highlight it. You tell me, do you want an additional unit for a riding arena? For another modular home that moved in, whatever. I think there's a much easier solution than deciding who's gonna go through a 1,500-page report, because neither party have the staff or time to do that. And so let me check with, like I said, I've checked with Madison County, who's Black Mountain, and they have a process with their sanitarian to where we get the information, the rates, the uploads. It's not killing anyone. I talked with Liz Franz in Weebo County, and she went, oh yeah, Black Mountain, when you give them this report, you gotta change this because it spits it out in a funky format, and et cetera. So it's a matter of, okay, let's find out what the best practice is for people that are doing it successfully without an onerous amount of time. Because there really is no argument on whose authority it is to ensure that this is the fee and here's where it goes, and that's local. So, but I think it can be done. Other people are doing it. It's not, let's not reinvent the wheel, let's build upon what they are doing.
I would agree with that.
Well,
I
I
think
think
we all would, yeah.
I think it's important though to remember that last year was our first year of cleanup, and this was our first year of doing any reports with Brian. And it was.
I've received reports before, but they'd all been printed in a book, and they were hard to use.
Okay, but here's the thing, what we had decided back at that commission, at that solid waste meeting that we had had back in October last year, is that we agreed that the fees were kind of a mess. They needed to be reviewed, cleaned up, and identified. The only way to do that is if you're gonna go through and do a cleanup of a report, you need to see every single one. And that's why, you know, the project was so onerous this last time, is because he went through and he reviewed every single fee. And he corrected several that were billed, that were commercial that needed to be corrected. He corrected several that were personal property that were being double billed because they had land. So there was a lot of cleanup that was done on that last report, and it was an imperative process to see every single one of them. So it had to be onerous for him to look at every single one. Going forward, that process, now that we feel that it's cleaned up and it's good to go, that process doesn't stay the same.
And I appreciate what you said, Rocky, about this whole thing. I think we've each got a little piece of homework to take home and maybe come together again. One is the follow-up report should be just the new stuff, the changes, because you can't go through 1,500 pages, nor should you. So there should be a way to pull that out of a Black Mountain report, even if it requires a phone call to Black Mountain. Brian doesn't have anything but read-only into Black Mountain on the budget, and I think we can all say thank goodness for that. He's not the only one. The only people who have the ability to change is probably you guys, but on the county level is the accounting office and the county clerk and recorder treasurer.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody else.
Security
Oh my
demands
gosh,
that.
yeah, we would have, you know, a potential mess.
And they
Just, you know, I have read-only as well, so, but, yeah, if you guys could get that report so that it is not 1,500 pages. Brian has already expressed that he's willing to take the responsibility for making the determination. That's not a problem. He just needs it so that it's workable. So if we can have both sides maybe do a little bit to come together, I think we can actually.
Quite
go a long ways.
frankly, myself representing DOR, I have a little wider reach. And let me find, it's the process and how it's done. Let me see what the other counties do and how their process is done. Then, like I say, once again, we gotta come back and say, here, this is working for them. There may be little variations. And then, quite frankly, we have to sit and see what works for Broadwater County. Now, it shouldn't be huge differences, because it's still our database, it's still the county database from one of the two of the biggest vendors that all the counties use. So I think we can find a process that is less onerous for everybody involved.
Then everybody wins. Our citizens to start.
Well, and it does. I
Yeah.
mean, unfortunately, a lot of citizens don't pay attention to their tax bill or their assessment notice. They get it, they receive it, they just pay it and they go on. And so,
I'll add
keeps
to that,
mistakes.
nobody ever complains when they're not paying enough.
That was just human nature.
Yeah. It's kind of like DOR and property tax values and appeals. In 28 years, I've yet to have one taxpayer appeal his valuation because we were too low.
I didn't know we could do that.
You can always pay more.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Yes.
If you want to work on this with Brian one-on-one, that's fine. Brian, if you want this again in a public meeting, we can do that too. I'll leave it
Well,
up to you guys.
I don't even know if we need to do this proposal if we're going to come up with a process that works for everybody involved.
Yeah,
I think maybe this just brought everything to a head and we finally get some headway on it, and then we'll come up with a solution.
absolutely.
So,
And it could be a minor modification of the proposal. You could table that until such time as, let me find out what super secret magic everyone's using, because it's not a huge issue in the other 12 counties that I have. And I have 3 of the biggest in the state, Lewis and Clark, Missoula, and Gallatin. And Gallatin has more specials than you can shake a stick
They
at.
use
So
CSA.
there are better ways to make it happen.
They use CSA though. A lot of our better report writing came from the CSA system, and it really just depends on which program or how much of the components were purchased. So we have to see what abilities are in the program.
We
itself.
probably won't be going back to CSA. We have not had very many people unhappy with the switchover, so we are Black Mountain.
Yeah,
That-
but
that'll
I'm
probably
saying they
remain.
have better report writing systems.
but
So, yeah, whatever you can find, Rocky,
Yeah.
would be great.
And I'll work strictly on Black Mountain. Black Mountain's Black Mountain.
Right.
How are they making it happen to where it's not? And I agree with what Judy said. When her and Brian first started working together, it was kind of like, oh my goodness, here's what we have after who knows how long, 20 years. He found a lot, we found a lot, we were relatively certain that we're as accurate and clean as can be at this point in time. And so, let's see what their process is, how it happens, and move forward.
Sounds good. Thank you
Okay.
very much
You
for
bet.
bringing this forward. Thank you very much for coming. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
so
Yes.
I think as the solid waste board,
Can Brian borrow
we
those?
recommend that you table this till we figure out where we need to be.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll just wait to hear from you guys and let us know what you want to do, and we'll address it then.
Okay.
All right. Chris, thanks for coming.
Thank you, folks, for your time.
Brian,
Brian, good
You looked
to
at
meet
this,
you.
didn't you?
We'll be getting back.
No, you look brand.
You looked at those, Brian?
I don't know if I've seen
It,
it or not.
it looks exactly like what the information we typed out to you. And you can come down and check them out through June.
Sure.
I'll look at them. These are our final
Thank
documentation.
you so
for
much.
now.
Folks, have a wonderful
Leave,
day.
good to see you.
Yeah, I can look at them whenever
Okay.
Thank you, June. Thanks. All right, thank you for your indulgence. I expected that would take us about 2 minutes, but it's an important issue that needed to be worked out, so thanks for your patience this morning. Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Chris. We will move ahead to Sean Haley, WWC, update on Deep Creek FEMA project.
Handouts, which I'll explain.
Thank you.
Okay. sent out an email and
Yes.
tried to contact each of the commissioners to explain where we were at with the project. Are there any questions with that, or do you want me to go over that again?
I have no questions. Franklin, did you read the email?
Yeah.
There's a copy of the email enlarged.
I have.
Blow it up a little bit.
Basically, we made it through the technical review from FEMA, which is the benefit cost analysis, which is all the backup supporting information. They did approve that. It is an environmental review, and we sent out letters to all the agencies, which went back to FEMA. The only thing that came out through the National Heritage Program was the occurrence of the Youth Ladies Trestle. It's a wild orchid in the lower part of Deep Creek. So it's an endangered species, of course, right? So what FEMA is going to require is that we send out a certified botanist to go out and look at these sites and determine if our sites that we put in for money from FEMA are habitat, essentially, for this wild orchid. So that being the case, we need to, I guess, get somebody out there to
Wait to hear from.
get that done. Now, what you have, now these certified botanists are really hard to find. There's not very many of them. There's one that actually works for the National Heritage Program, but she is extremely busy through like next spring,
Wow.
because she does a lot of consulting. She gave us a recommendation of a gentleman from Confluence, which has given us a bid, which is what you have in front of you. Now, from talking to DES, the fee for the Deep Creek side, which is, in this estimate is $2,800, can be paid by Montana DES. So that basically is
For phase one,
yeah.
or phase one authorization.
Yeah, so there is money to take care of that fee. The worst part is because they found it and because of the proximity of Deep Creek to Dry Creek, because we have two applications in. We have the Deep Creek project, we have the Dry Creek project. They are gonna require that assessment also on Dry Creek. We did put up a little bit of a fight there, but they just said, you guys are gonna do this. The cost for doing that is $2,200, which is a little bit less. We may even get some more cost savings if we do both together. I don't know how much, but, so this is the worst case scenario that you're up against. And that would have to come out of Broadwater County's pocket, because they do not have any additional funds.
I'll explain that is because the Deep Creek project came from the 2011 flood, and that has been approved for phase one. But they gave us a budget to spend out of there. The Dry Creek came out of the March 2014 flood, and we've just put an application in to get a grant for flood mitigation through the FEMA project, and they never gave us any money. So we're still in the original application process, and we have to pay for our own application process.
Right.
And the way it works with FEMA is if we go ahead and do this now and we get that grant later, it doesn't help us. We still have to pay out of pocket.
Right, because when
Yeah,
that grant
yeah,
comes,
yeah.
any money we spent before the award date of that grant can't go back retroactive.
Okay.
So the one thing I do need to talk to Nadine about is this may count towards our match, this on Dry Creek, because we'll have to see how that necessarily works. But I can't promise that. That's something we'll try to get back. But,
That'd be good if we could.
yeah,
But for the match.
but essentially, I mean, you know, it's really what's gonna happen with this is this guy's gonna go out, he's gonna look at these areas. Even if there is some habitat, there are gonna be some conditions. So you can't work during this time frame, or you've gotta work around this particular site. It's not like they're gonna say, no, you can't do this at all, at least from my understanding with DES. They're gonna attach stipulations to our award, is basically.
What is it, just a small flower or what is it?
Yeah, it's just a.
Little orchid,
It's,
wild
it
plant.
doesn't grow very tall. It's just a little, you know, kind of a white blooming orchid, which, yeah, I don't know much much about
Why
this.
don't they come in and dig these out and take them, plant them wherever they want them?
Yeah, and
That's a no-no
they
for
only,
If it was a
They only
endangered species, you can't be picking.
strike that from the record.
Right, I'm kidding.
That's right, we strike.
No, they only bloom during September, early September. And that's it, so that's the only time you really can even tell that they're there. So this assessment will basically give FEMA the data to give us the final approval for both projects. And then, again, we'll just have to deal with the stipulations that occur.
And the
with those.
second project that we're talking about is the road crossings
Well,
on
no.
Carson and,
No, that's part of the first project.
first, okay,
That's for the first project. And we've got money to do that, so I recommend to the commissioners we go ahead and do that. I think if we're gonna put out a request for proposal from a botanist, we should put it in 2 packages. Have them bid for it or put together a proposal back for both Deep Creek and Dry Creek, all at the same day.
yeah.
And then come back to the commission with that dollar amount and see if the commission wants to come up with the money before we hire that botanist.
Basically, and that's what I've done.
You have,
I think the problem is, even if we go out, we're not gonna get very much as far as proposals.
you'd be lucky to get anybody.
And this actually came in less than I thought it was gonna be, which I thought was reasonable. So we could do that process if you would so desire to do it. It is,
Just gonna take $2,200 or more.
Yeah, 2210, when we're talking about the road crossings, I mean, that's,
Well, this will only
That's not
affect,
that much.
this will only affect
That's-
Dry Creek, Flynn Lane,
Yep.
the 2210.
not Carson.
Carson is all covered under the first grant prepaid.
Yep.
Okay,
Mhm.
Yeah, so the
Alright.
$2,800.
Carson, Lightning Barn, and Reach 15, and also Clopton is all covered under the federal grant under phase 1. FEMA
Okay.
grant out of phase 1.
so the 2210 covers.
Dry Creek.
Only Dry Creek
Okay,
and Flynn
thank
Lane.
you. All
Yep,
right,
Flynn Lane and the drainage culvert improvements.
Those culverts.
And the ditch improvements on Dry Creek, which
The
okay,
box
is a
culvert
good,
mainly
is a
in
good
Flynn.
project. I looked at that last, 2 years ago, and
mhm,
You were out there that day.
it needs some attention.
We had to breach they had to breach Dana actually had to breach Flynn Lane, to get the water, so much
Yeah.
was coming off the
It would
irrigation
have
canal.
washed the road out, so they.
Oh, it was backing up in the Dave Platte back on there to where Deals lived,
yeah,
so they had to get the water back down to the river.
we had a
So
number
the
of
road
meetings
was
out
closed
there
for
when
about
it
a
was
week.
flooding.
And
Yeah,
that's a school bus route as a mail route.
yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so basically what you need from us is that if it comes, well, not if, we're going to put out this proposal, and when it comes through, that the commission is agreeable to funding the second half, the Flynn Lane Dry Creek project, in the sum of $2,210, roughly.
Yeah, so I need approval for 2 things. And
Right.
I, basically what I'm looking for today, or whenever you guys decide, is an approval of this proposal that you have in front of you. It's from Confluence Consulting out of Bozeman. And it is just to get the botanist out, to take a look at these areas and assess whether we have habitat for that wild orchid. Once we have that, we can send that to FEMA, and then they can process the award. And that's when actually the funds start coming through for construction.
Okay,
So, and I guess what I'm explaining is that the 2830, which is for Deep Creek, he separated it, we asked him to do that specifically because we have 2 projects. The 2830 for Deep Creek is covered by the phase 1
Right.
funds.
75% of it.
Right,
Oh, okay.
okay,
right,
But
but
we
you already
use-
have a significant amount of match
We
that
do.
will cover that at the
In
bottom.
kind match.
Right.
sure, sure.
The 2210 will be basically out of pocket for Robert.
100%.
100%.
Unless it ends up being
Less.
as a match later.
Yeah, if we can get it, we will try, absolutely.
All right, any questions?
Now, this doesn't affect the other 2 bridges, just this one on Carson, right?
Well, actually, it's,
Goes all the way up to Creek.
they're asking it for all of the projects. So we ended up with.
From the river all the way
3
up.
bridges. We had Carson, Lightning Barn, and Clopton.
Mhm.
And then we had the Reach 15 bank stabilization project.
Mhm.
And then we had a little bit of work on Antonix, which that isn't impacted because it's off the channel and it's around their house. So that one we won't have to look at. But then Sauter actually is doing a little bit of bank work up at his place. So that'll have to be part of the assessment. He'll have to look at that. Now, that's, in my purview, obviously not, habitat, because it's a completely different, it's up in the canyon, it's a different vegetative condition up there. So it'll really impact, Reach 15 and the 3 bridges on Deep Creek. And then probably, if there is anything, it'll be more towards the lower part of Dry Creek.
All right. Franklin?
I think we better go with it and get taken care of. I mean, something sure never foresee. What I wonder is, do they have to do any of this on the canyon work they've been doing? Do you know of any of that?
We don't know what they went through.
We really don't know what they've been through.
But we can ask, find out.
Well, I guess it doesn't matter. We know what we gotta do, so.
Yeah.
Right, they didn't do any work downstream from the North Fork Bridge, so.
They may not have had to, like Mike was saying, just
But
because.
like Sauter's is clear up the upper end.
Yeah, it just didn't trigger.
Different type habitat up there, different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In
okay.
a different agency, FEMA is a little different, and because they're a federal agency, our project touches a part where they've found the wild orchid. So they want the entire project and anything close to it looked at.
Funny, they didn't
So
tell
they
us
cover their
sooner, but
bases, yeah.
we've been working on this
Yeah, they've had those letters
phase
since,
one for
last
2.5
year.
years or something.
Yeah, they've had those letters since October 7th.
We've had a lot of conference calls with them. Never came up, but yeah, federal.
Yeah. So Franklin?
Well, I think we give you the authorization to go ahead with these botanists and
Yeah,
get all the information you can and proceed from there.
okay.
And that needs to be done in the form of a motion. Would you mind making said motion?
We'll stipulate it as a motion, what I just said. However you want to word it in there, basically, for you to have the authorization to go ahead. I guess that'd be the motion. Then you see how the authorization to go ahead.
You're giving him spending authority for 2210. Hey,
All right, I'll second the motion. Any discussion, public comment? All right. It has been moved and seconded to go ahead and give you the authorization to move forward and, okay, the spending authority for about 2210 at this point. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye, motion carries.
Okay.
I guess, could this stop this project of these culverts? Or bridges, I mean, with
It could. I'm not gonna say it can't, but it could. I suspect that, the area around those culverts and bridges is so disturbed because
it's all within the county right away.
it's in the county right of way, and we're not gonna go outside of that county right of way. I would highly doubt that it would stop it. And if so, I think we could make a very good argument that
for the-
disturbing the material around these sites has probably created habitat, if nothing else. So, I gotta caveat it and say that it could, but it looks like it's highly
It's also
unlikely.
in there for public safety.
True, well,
Because of the-
yeah, we'll have to debate that one at time.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
get this part done and
We'll
we'll go
see,
from
we'll
there.
see what they say. FEMA, to this date, they've been pretty hard to work through. And, but
Very bureaucratic.
we've got a lot of momentum going, I guess, in this project, and they're getting a lot of pressure to get these projects underway. And so, we'll see where it goes.
Thank you very much, and thanks also for the email to give us a heads up prior to.
Absolutely.
Appreciate
I'll
that very
continue to
much.
keep you in the loop, and as soon as we get the reports from this gentleman, you guys will have them in your hands the next day.
Thank you, Sean.
Thanks, Sean.
You bet. You guys have a good day.
You too, good to see you. All right, next on the agenda, Mike Conkey,
Try to move right along here.
updates.
This handout, DES update, the first two items I think we've already disposed of, and I use that for a minute. There's the Deep Creek thing we just now talked about, kind of explains a little bit about it, and then the Dry Creek flood line deal. The last item, Tim, no questions on those for county DES, then I'll move on to our last item, the Tri-County Regional Fire Safe. Regional Community Wildfire Protection Plan.
Thank you very much.
And basically, we've been working on this. This project here is covered under our Forestry Title III fund. And we've been working on it with the Tri-County Fire Safe Working Group, which is, part of Broadwater, Jefferson, and Lewis and Clark. And the old plan was 2009, and this is just an updated existing plan. We had a collaborative effort with our state and federal partners, that would be DNRC, Forest Service, BLM, and BOR out here, as well as with the other counties, rural fire districts, and commissioners from the other counties and stuff. So we kind of put this together. This is the first printing of it. It has not yet been approved. I'm giving her an opportunity today to give it to the Board of County Commissioners. Wednesday, I'll give it to the Rural Fire Board of Trustees. And then Thursday, I'll give it to the Broadwater County City Townsend LEPC, Local Emergency Planning Committee. And then we'll set a date to come back and have the commission put it on the agenda and have the commission vote on and approve it. But I just want to give you these drafts so you can take a look at it. And basically what the plan does, it all came out of, they want us to look at where people build in they call it the urban interface, wildland interface, but they build up in the timber, very similar to Karen Honey and John Hess. Of course, their fires started within the structure, but we have had fires up in that area. The constant model fire ran through there. And we want to protect structures in those areas when we have a wildland fire. And we can do that by trying to educate people and trying to do some fuel mitigation project. And we also make recommendations to homeowners and communities how to reduce the risk, that ignition zone around their homes. And this plan is important for us to get funding, mitigation funding down the roads, both on the federal side, FEMA side, as well as the BOR, Forest Service side, for fuel mitigation projects. Now, with last year's fire season in California and Washington and northern Idaho, a lot of homes burned down. Dozens of them, 50, 60, 100 in one fire. So there's going to be a big future push, I think, from the federal government is more projects to mitigate. We want the homes to be able to survive a wildland fire. And the homes have. You can take photographs of a lot of these big fires, and there'll be 50 or 60 homes burned down, and there'll be one or two of them that never burned down. And that's because they have green space 30 feet around, and the trees have been cleared out, so there won't be a crown fire, the grass is green, and everything. That's what we want people to do, try to survive. There's other homes that burned down, they're tucked into the timber, kind of like you've been up top. Some of the cabins on Duck Creek. And there's accumulations of all kinds of stuff, timber stuff, as well as private property, sheds, cars and stuff like that. It's hard to fight a fire. If that fire comes through an area like that, it's gonna end up burning everything, all the structures and everything. The only thing we can do as an emergency services is to evacuate the people and keep the people out until the fire passes through. But what we wanna do is try to get the homeowners, those people that live in the urban interface, wildland interface, to prepare for that. Now, we don't have, you read this plan, we don't have a lot of that in Montgomery County. We have a tremendous amount of that in Jefferson County, both the northern end there by Montana City, down by Boulder. And even got some down by Whitehall, and of course Lewis and Clark County. Got everything in the South Hills, including the city of Helena South. And then they got the North Hills, and got some up by Augusta, and we got a bunch over by Lincoln. We don't have a lot. But we're a partner in this Tri-County plan, so not a lot of this will address us, but we do have some projects. And we'll talk about those, what we're putting into our pre-disaster mitigation plan. So this is kind of the template to get started for the Tri-County area, and then we get into more detail with each county's pre-disaster mitigation plan, which we will discuss Wednesday at the LEPC committee. Do you have any comments on this, any questions, anybody? No. So I'll get out of here then, because I know you're running a little bit behind schedule. I thank you very much. Take time to look at this. And we'll discuss it more Thursday if you happen to attend LAPC. Any citizens, any questions? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike.
Good luck.
Hey, thanks.
Water last time I left.
All right, next on the agenda, we're almost caught up. All right, COS reviews, I don't see Bernadette here. And actually, we are on ahead of schedule all of a sudden. All right, first, we'll take care of some mail for 4 minutes. First thing we have is minutes from November 9, 2015. Those were emailed out last week. I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Anything, Franklin?
No,
No, you have nothing to offer, no, you're not going to move to approve.
no, I'm not gonna approve.
All right, let the record show that Franklin is opposed to the minutes. I will move to adopt the minutes as they were mailed out last week. If you could hand those back, I was going to add. Realizing that there's no second, correct?
Right.
All right, motion dies without a second. All right, next we have an email from Michelle Quiggery. Are you good to go with her suggestions, Franklin, regarding the personnel policies?
Repeat that again, what policies? I don't know if I got that email.
Yeah, you did. We spent all day last Monday going over the personnel
Right.
policies with some of the department heads. What she is suggesting, she wrote together the language and emailed it to us for the social media policy, and she would like to come and do a training with our folks on December 2nd. Are you good with that?
I'll go with that.
All right. Let the record show that the commission is supportive of having Michelle come and do a training on the personnel policies. We'll go ahead and solidify a time with her. We have the approved claims from last week, and in the amount of $58,851.69.
Now move to pay the claims in the amount just stated.
It's moved, I'll second the motion. It's been moved and seconded to pay the approved claims in the amount of $58,851.69. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye, motion carries. And there was a question last week, Franklin, on the paving to your driveway on Muddy Lane. You said that was Johnson Loop. I just wondered if you wanted an opportunity to make that
I didn't say it
correction.
was Johnson Loop.
You did, actually. It's on YouTube. So I just wanted to.
I said the same thing was done on Johnson Loop.
Don't yell, just answer.
I'll yell if I have to get it straight to you. I got some people here, I'm glad that this brought this up. Ober's got a big deal going. everybody's been down through the project that's been done south of Toston. New fences and all that. Well, anyway, on Muddy Lane Road, which I have property, part of my property was taken for the highway easement and everything. So they come in and put new approaches. My gate was gone then, so they just moved the gate down a ways. And then I've had a garden there for 30 years probably. And so the gate had to go right below that the state put in. No problem, the fencing and all that. When they paved, in fact, the picture's right here, anybody like to look at it? They made a big wide, before Muddy Lane, when you come out, it was hard to make that turn because of the view of the traffic. So anyway, all this is in there. So they come and they paved down that far. I had no idea, well, after it was all done, it's paved down 100 feet maybe, or something like that. And it happens to end right where my gate is. So it's supposed to be a big issue that I guess I had the power over the state to run that paving down. Johnson Loop, which she says I claim was on mine, they did the same thing. The gate had to be moved down, so they paved down to the edge of the gate. In fact, that one, I think they paved right to the gate. Mine just stayed right on the county road. So anyway, supposedly if I have so much power and authority that the state will do this paving, I mean, I just laughed about this before and I'm just repeating it out there again. It's really something. In fact, I'd be glad to take people down there and show them exactly what it is.
Okay, so for the record, we're talking Muddy Lane. We'll just make sure that's clear.
And
All
the
right.
same thing was done on Johnson Loop.
Okay, but we don't have a complaint on Johnson Loop, but I'm glad you cleared that out. So, 11:30, determine compensable hours for employees' health insurance benefit and decision. All right, we visited this last week, Franklin, and what we need to do is decide at what point we begin the benefit of health insurance for our employees. Did you give any thought to this particular subject?
Well, yeah, from what we discussed it there, the range from 80 to 120, I guess. That's okay, I can stick it back in there later. Thank you. I guess it depends if we want to, if we go with the 80 hours, someone or the part-time help would be able to get their insurance. Or do we want to hold it at, I'd say maybe hold it at the 100 hours. The variance is there between the 80 and 120, so maybe 100 hours would be about right.
So 100 hours is where you want to start health insurance for our employees?
Well, that's my suggestion, or we go with the 80, I don't care. And maybe it's better, some of the part-time ones can have insurance. But I think a lot of them, that's why they're hired as part-time, because to save the county for these extra benefits. That's why I would say maybe jumping up to 100, they get the 100 hours in, then they are eligible.
Okay, did you run any numbers on any of these ideas?
Do what?
Run any numbers? No?
Well, go ahead, but I don't know what numbers you're talking about.
Whenever we make a decision on anything, Franklin, what we should do is look at the financial impact to the county. So every decision, we run numbers to see what the financial impact is going to be. Teamsters right now is calculating that a person is eligible for the insurance benefit if they work 1 week per month at 32 hours. We had the whole settlement and the audit on that. Now they're saying right now they want it to be or calculated in their office at 80. That means any employee working 20 hours a week is eligible for our health insurance benefit. That means the county taxpayers pay a portion and our employees pay a portion. something that's very common in government is the county pays a larger portion than in the private sector because we pay so much less per hour. If you make it 100 hours, that means that an employee making $24, or working 24 to 25 hours per week is eligible for the full health insurance benefit. And this is for them and their whole families. This is a great health insurance benefit that we offer. If we leave it at 80 hours, compensable hours, the cost to the county is over $92,000 more per year. If we do 100 hours, the cost to the county is roughly $66,000 a year. This isn't the employee's copay, this is just the county's portion. And this is because we would be adding so many more people onto the health insurance above what is required by law. Law is out 120 compensable hours. And that would maybe add, $13,000 total. That's a big difference. That's a $90,000 difference from 80 to 100. Are you good with, do you have any comments on any of that?
Well, that's why I threw the 100 out there, because it put it above the ones just working at 20 hours, part-time, which, to say, that's why the county hires people for part-time, so they don't have to have all these other expenses.
24 hours a week is also part-time. And it's an additional cost to the county of $66,000 a year.
So then what are you recommending?
I'm recommending that we go with the legal requirement of 120 compensable hours, and at that point, an employee gets the health insurance benefit, but not below.
I'd still stay at the 100, I think. My idea of it.
Can you please justify why you would go with the 100 and how you feel about the additional cost of $66,000 to the citizens to cover another 5 people for health insurance?
Well, for one thing, those are your figures.
Do you have any
Which
to tell
mean
me
nothing
about?
to me. Go ahead, Brenda.
I was sitting in there when we discussed it with the Teamsters, and they said it, to cover you 3 elected officials, it was 104 hours. So I don't know where the 120 to cover it.
Well, this isn't about the commissioners at this point. This is about county policy regarding all of our employees. Do we want a county policy that starts giving a health insurance benefit to any employee working just 20 hours a week, or 24 for the 100 hours, or 26? Or do we go with the ACA requirement of 120?
It
If we
doesn't matter,
go-
because the
if-
elected officials are exempt on it anyway.
If we go with the 80 hours compensable, we are adding over $92,000 annually to our budget, just for the health insurance benefit. If we make it 104, we are adding about 68,000. 100 hours would be 66,000. Is this something that's good managerially, that people working that part-time get the full health insurance benefit? And this is for 5 employees, not just the commission. That's not part of this conversation right now. We're talking a managerial decision for the whole county.
Yeah, because
So-
elected officials are not held to this. This would be just employees.
So what I would like to know from you, Franklin, why are you justifying keeping the numbers so low as to benefit people working extremely part-time at an increase to the county budget of $66-ish thousand per year?
Well, it's gonna bring that much in, we don't have to hire them. I don't know where you're getting this certain amount of these employees there.
I'm getting it from our employee list, Franklin. I got this from the accounting office. It's a list of all our employees, how many hours they work. Compensable hours, we learned what that was last week. It's the number of hours you work, and it includes sick leave and vacation. And what I did is I looked at every employee and saw how many hours they're working to know which category they fit in.
So there's 5 employees, you figure?
There'd be 5 current employees that would get the additional benefit of the health insurance. They're not getting health insurance right now. They would be added onto the health insurance, and that would add an additional $66,000 a year, roughly. Most businesses and other counties are going with the ACA requirement because it is better fiscal management of the money. Right now, our employees who work 32 hours or more per week are getting their health insurance benefit. So 4 8-hour shifts, you get your health insurance benefit. The ACA is saying that number needs to be 30. That's the law. What you're saying is Broadwater County would take that number of hours worked from 32 to 24.
Oh. Well, can't agree, let's just table it then.
Okay, that will be another item that we will go ahead and postpone until another date. All right, 11:45, I would imagine we're there. Set commissioners' part-time, full-time hours and decision. All right, so with this particular topic, is there any public comment before we get started? See a lot of new people have come in. Do you want to make any comments or ask questions at this point?
If you could please just explain what you're proposing and what the process would be to get to that point.
Yeah, we need your name for the record.
My name's Rich Holdorf.
All right, there's nothing we're proposing at this point. Any other public comment before we get started? Okay, there's nothing we're proposing at this point. We received a memo last week, and in that memo, the county attorney came forward and said he had given us some misinformation. This was in working with Teamsters, and it was in relation to the health insurance benefit. Basically, what he did is he came up with language, and I'll read that language to you, that stated that county commissioners who wish to participate in the health insurance had to work at least 32 hours in a week, at least 1 week per month for that benefit, because that is set at 32 hours per week. So prior to that, the commissioners were getting the health insurance benefit at 26 hours. Teamsters said, you can't do that. So Corey came up with language that basically addressed the 3 wants and needs of the commissioners. Elaine doesn't want to be on the health insurance. She's working 26 hours. That's all she wants. Franklin wants the health insurance benefit. So the language was, if you want to work 26 and not take the health insurance, you can. If you want the health insurance benefit, you need to work at least 32 hours that 1 week per month. So that's where it came from.
So each commissioner has a choice.
Right
on
now
how
we
many
do.
hours they would work.
Yes.
Corey also stated that that agreement was null and void there in last January.
No, we didn't.
He said it right here, that was you here, Brenda, when you said that it wasn't,
He said that you guys need to do, to set the compensable hours for your Insurance.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I understood you were reading off the letter that came originally. That's what you were talking about right at the moment. You were not talking about this document yet.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Just sharing a history at request. So, that's where we're at. Now, the Teamsters has under their understanding that 80 compensable hours equals an employee gets the full health insurance benefit. That's roughly another $1,000 a month that taxpayers are paying. Do we make it 20? Do we make it 24? Do we make it 30 as per the ACA?
So 80 hours per month,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah, versus 32 hours worked in 1 week. So, and that got to be very confusing when you had, we had a reserve deputy who would have 1 week at 32 and then not work at all the rest of the month. He was getting tagged with the health insurance benefit that he didn't want. And I do think that's the reason Teamsters came forward and said, this isn't working, we're gonna make it 80 unless you guys change it. So that's where we're at. So a couple of things, we have to set, per a memo from last week that Corey sent us, the commission has to set a uniform number of hours for the commissioners. And that's what that agenda item is. Per Corey, he put in his memo, and there's a little bit to be added here that I think is important. First of all, the motion that was part of the January 23 minutes, February 2nd minutes, and a memo sent by the county attorney to Teamsters read that, a quote from the memo, I recommend you, and you agree to amend that arrangement to allow each employee of the county to work up to 32 hours in a week, 1 week per month. The second half of the motion read, and county commissioners who wish to participate must work at least 32 hours in a week, at least 1 week per month. So that's what we did, especially during the budget season. We have a $13 million budget. And we also did as you guys heard, move from CSA to Black Mountain. It's not a big deal to you guys, it's a very big deal to us. It's a whole new operating system. We did that switch over. During the budget season, there were weeks where I worked 40 hours. Based on the language in the minutes, I was compensated for those 40 hours. There were weeks when I clocked 60, 55, 50 hours. I was paid for 40. It has been erroneously stated I collected full-time, or overtime. That's absolutely not true. Never over 40. The memo also said that did just single me out as being compensated for over the 32 hours. I do have timesheets for myself. These are public record and they're for anyone to view. And I have timesheets for Commissioner Salifka, who also was compensated over the 32 hours in multiple weeks. So this is something that is, perhaps we were given wrong information. If we were, we need to correct it and we need to move forward, period. That's what we're trying to do today. Based on the fact that we haven't come up with a compensable number of hours for our employees, I don't think we're going to come up with a solution on this one, but I'm willing to listen to anything you have to offer, Franklin. And I do think, since it will affect Elaine either way, that she should be here for the discussion. But what do you want to add, Franklin?
Well, as usual, Oprah will talk and talk, and you go around and around, and you still don't know what it was to start off with. These hours, as they said, weren't right originally. I had to do this 32 hours, so I put down the 32 hours. I was told that payroll was not to pay me anything above the 26-hour base. And I agreed with that. We were elected as part-time commissioners, the 26-hour base. And that's what we should still be at. It's been, the voters had a chance in that study commission, and they overwhelmingly knocked it down. If they'd wanted to make a change and put county commissioners as full-time or anything else, they would have voted for that. And they did not. The voters in this county don't feel that we should be full-time, and there's no reason for it. A county this size, absolutely no reason.
All right, I can agree with you. I think that right now, the way the commission is set up, there is no way we could justify a full-time commission. A full-time commission means that all three commissioners